Max sat alone on the school bus, watching the rain fall outside the window. It was his first day at this new school, and he hadn't spoken to anyone yet. Being 13 and starting a new school in the middle of the year was hard enough, but being the only deaf student made it even harder. He touched the hearing aids behind his ears, making sure they were working properly. Even with them, he still relied mostly on reading lips and sign language. His old school had a program for deaf students, but this school didn't. His mother had promised him it would be okay, but he wasn't so sure. As the bus stopped at the next corner, a girl with bright red hair got on. She looked around for a seat, and to Max's surprise, she walked straight to him. She was carrying a large art portfolio that was almost bigger than she was. "Hi. Can I sit here?" she asked, speaking clearly and looking directly at him. Max nodded, noticing how she seemed to make sure he could see her face when she spoke. The girl sat down and smiled. "I'm Emily," she said, still speaking clearly and facing him. "You're new here, right?" Max hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Yes, I'm Max. I'm deaf, but I can read lips if you look at me when you talk." Instead of looking uncomfortable like most people did, Emily's face lit up. She put down her art portfolio and began moving her hands in familiar patterns. "I know sign language," she signed. "My cousin is deaf. We learned together when we were little." Max couldn't believe it. He smiled and signed back, "Really? No one else here knows sign language." For the rest of the bus ride, they talked using a mix of sign language and speech. Emily showed Max her art portfolio, full of colorful drawings and paintings. She explained that she was working on a comic book about a superhero who was deaf and could feel sound waves as colors. "Want to be my art consultant?" she asked and signed. "I want to make sure I get everything right." At lunch, Emily introduced Max to her friends. She had already taught them some basic signs, and they were eager to learn more. They were clumsy and made mistakes, but they tried, and that meant a lot to Max. In art class, their teacher, Ms. Roberts, noticed how well Max and Emily worked together. She asked them if they would like to create a poster for the upcoming school arts festival. Emily suggested they make it about different ways people communicate. After school, Max and Emily worked on their poster in the art room. Emily taught Max about color theory and shading, while Max helped her understand how to show sign language accurately in her comic book. They created a beautiful poster showing hands forming signs, surrounded by swirling colors that represented sound waves. One day, Emily wasn't on the bus. Max found out she was homesick with the flu. The day felt longer and lonelier without her there. That evening, he had an idea. He asked his mother to take him to the craft store. Using the art techniques Emily had taught him, Max made a get-well card. He drew himself and Emily as the superheroes from her comic book, fighting off flu germs that looked like little green monsters. Inside, he wrote, "Get well soon. The world needs its superhero artist." When Emily returned to school 3 days later, she was thrilled with the card. "Max," she signed excitedly. "This is amazing. You've gotten so good at drawing." Their poster won first prize at the Arts Festival. But more importantly, it inspired other students to learn sign language. Soon, a small group began meeting during lunch to practice signing. Emily and Max became the teachers, helping others learn to communicate in a new way. At the end of the school year, Emily gave Max a special gift, her finished comic book. The main character looked just like Max, and on the dedication page she had written, "To my best friend Max, who taught me that true friendship doesn't need words." Max smiled as he read it, remembering that lonely first day on the bus. He had been so worried about being different, about not fitting in. But Emily had shown him that being different wasn't a barrier to friendship, it was what made their friendship special. That summer, Max and Emily started working on a new project together, a graphic novel about two friends, one deaf and one hearing, who solve mysteries using their unique abilities. As they worked, Max realized that sometimes the best friendships start with a simple act of kindness, like a girl with red hair choosing to sit next to a lonely boy on the bus. They also started a sign language club at school, open to anyone who wanted to learn. By the next year, dozens of students had learned basic signs, and the school had become a more inclusive place. What had started as a chance meeting on a rainy day had grown into something that changed their whole school. Max kept Emily's comic book on his bedside table. Every time he looked at it, he remembered that true friendship could break down any barrier, and that sometimes the best stories are the ones we live ourselves.